All right, welcome back to Talking Fitchburg. Joining me today from the Fitchburg Fire Department is the fireman, Adam Dorn. How you doing this morning, sir?
Great, Jeremy, great.
Do you have a new title yet besides firefighter Adam Dorn?
No, just sticking with the firefighter
Do you know
inspector.
what your fire number is?
Yeah.
What?
44, Fire 44.
Really?
Yep.
No, for the service is Fire 44?
No, it's the identifying number that we use on the radio if I have to talk with somebody.
Firefighter 44.
Yeah. Now, that's if we're out and about doing inspections and stuff. If we're on a call, we use our engine or our vehicle identifier.
Nobody in the community would understand anything.
Right, exactly. Right? Hey, there's maybe a good topic for the future.
Radio identification next time right here on Talking Fitchburg. All right, well, we got you in today, and what we're going to do is we're going to recap 2015 from the fire department's perspective and take a look into 16.
Right,
so
right.
You got a lot of stuff happening. So
yeah,
we're going to kick it off with the calls. So describe some of the calls data you have for us.
Yeah, so it's 2015 was a record year for us in a number of different ways. Number one, it's the most calls we've ever responded to in the history of the city. We ran 2,010 calls, and it may not seem like a whole lot, but to think about it, back in 2011, we ran 1,384 calls. So that's 700 calls in just 5 years increase. That's about a 45, I think it's around a 45% increase in call volume. So that's a pretty big number for us. Even over last year, it was 11% increase. So, and when you look at the whole thing that we got going on, 10 years ago, we ran almost just over half of that. So just around 1,200 calls. So it's a huge deal that we're running this many calls. What does it relate back to? Why are we running that many calls? A lot of it has to do with the city's grown. From 10 years ago, the city's grown quite a bit. We have a lot of new housing coming in. And as the city grows, the more residents we have, the more services they're going to be requesting.
Well, I like when you're looking through the breakdown of the calls, 600 calls for alarms, like cooking fires, fire alarm.
Yeah.
This is crazy.
It is.
But it comes with the technology, too, and the people,
Right.
A lot of people have gotten, where their alarms connect to dialing an auto, either an auto dial or going to an alarm company, and then they're ringing you guys to get out there.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of an interesting statistic in and of itself, because we classify anything of a still alarm to be it's a one-engine response, and it's only one engine. You could see here, Jeremy, it shows cooking fires, fire alarms. It could be carbon monoxide alarms going off. It could be requests for assistance for someone locked out of a house or locked out of a car. So there's a huge wide gamut of calls that kind of fall into that. But the cooking fires, I know we had about 30 cooking fires last year. And when we talk about cooking fires, that's a fire that's contained just to the cooking material or the pots and pans, right? If it goes outside of that, we classify that as a structure fire because something other than what was being used to heat the food started on fire. So it shows that we have 24 structure fires last year. So some of that is cooking fires that extended to the cabinets or the walls. Actual structures that were on fire, I'd say we had about 12. So we didn't have a whole lot, but it's one a month.
Knock on wood, though, because in years past, that number could, has been significant, or was significant fires, too.
Right.
So
I believe it was almost 20 years ago, somewhere in there, that they actually ran 24 structure fires in 1 year. Actual buildings burning.
Working fire. Yeah.
So we've come a long ways, and a lot of that has to do with, like you had mentioned, the alarms that are in these buildings. So,
which is good and bad. I mean, some of them caught fires early, so if you were to even break it even further, some of those cooking fires that may have started with somebody not noticing, and it kicked the alarm off, alarm company called, and they're like, yeah, I do have something on fire,
Right.
So that's pretty cool.
And the other big reason our structure fires are staying quite low is that we have sprinkler systems in a lot of these new apartment buildings. And a lot of the older ones are being retrofitted, which is awesome. That's one of the things that's going on in the state right now. They're trying to take away that ability from our city, not just our city, but all the cities in the state to say, hey, you can't require buildings to be retrofitted with sprinkler systems. But in all honesty, those sprinkler systems are saving lives, saving property, and it's cutting insurance on these owners from the insurance company. So it's an all-around positive thing for a few, $10, $12, maybe $20,000 on the front-end cost, but it's saving them hundreds of thousands in the long run, which is pretty important. People don't tend to realize that.
Right, right. I think the other number that's high is the EMS call response, but there's a reason behind that, and that's because we're running, we're running 2 ambulances from 2 different locations. So sometimes the closest ambulance might be coming from Verona, so you guys are. It's not considered a first. You could look at it like a first responder, but you guys are the first ones there on a lot of the calls, and so that's part of where the other volume comes. So.
The 1,200 roughly calls that we ran for EMS, a lot of that is, like you said, we are really more of a first responder when it comes to that, because we're providing the basic first aid to either maintain someone's life until we have advanced care there, or it's going to be, hey, what can we help with? If they're having breathing problems, we can give them the oxygen that they need to help them breathe easier and stuff. And a lot of those calls kind of come into the, if their ambulance is close enough, they'll just send the ambulance, but we have a priority dispatch. So if it's a severe level call, they send an ambulance and an engine because they're expecting to need more help.
Yeah, and then part of it too is you guys could ride along in the ambulance too and help out. So there's more to look at it than just that you went on an EMS call and So
and the other interesting part about that right now, when we are dispatched, if the fire engine can beat the ambulance to the address by 1 minute or more, they send the engine and the ambulance. So even though it might not be a severe call, they're still going to send the engine because the engine can get there before the ambulance.
Yeah, and sometimes you guys may be on scene for 20 minutes or less. So it's it's a call, but you might not think of it as like a call where you're out for an hour or 2 hours, whatever the case may be. So, all right, well, we've ran out of time for today, but I tell you what, later this month we're going to go through the 2016 preview, and we'll check into what you guys got coming up. So
sounds good.
All right, thanks for joining me, and we'll be right back. It's Talking Fitchburg.